There's something magical about cobbler. It's just perfect, isn't it? Ice cream melting over all that sweet fruit filling and crumbly pastry top is just everything good about summer. I think if I had to pick a favorite dessert, cobbler would be it. There's just so much to love about it. The celebration of seasonal fruit picked at the height of ripeness, a buttery golden brown crust, and a giant scoop of sweet vanilla ice cream. Cobbler is the king of humble desserts. You won't often find it in a fancy restaurant. It's probably been served on more paper plates than china, but there's just something special about it. So I was super excited to share some of the cobbler recipes I found in my vintage community cookbooks, but looking through them, I was immediately very confused. For such a simple and humble thing to make, I found myself a bit lost as to actually defining what a cobbler is. I thought it was so simple, but when I looked for what I thought a cobbler was, the one I remember from my childhood, it turns out it's not even a cobbler at all. Imagine my surprise. So that started me down a whole cobbler journey where I learned how exactly they began, what exactly they are, and how they're appreciated completely differently depending on the region that they're from. I had no idea cobblers were so interesting and complex. The first cobblers were made by English colonists in America who didn't have access to the ingredients to make the popular pie of the time, suet. So like all great home cooks, they used what they had on hand. Sweetened seasonal fruits and a basic rustic biscuit-like dough, and invented one of the tastiest desserts ever made. It's unclear exactly how the name came to be. Some say it was because it was cobbled together with whatever you had on hand, and other stories say that the drop biscuits on the top looked like the cobblestones on a street. Either way, it was a big hit. And as populations expanded across America, every region came up with their own version that suited them. So here I was thinking cobbler was one very simple dish, when actually it was several very specific kinds with different techniques and different styles and even different names. Like, ever heard of a sonker or a grunt? Yeah, cobblers. And what I thought of as a cobbler is actually a crisp, which technically isn't even a cobbler. Yeah, crisps and crumbles aren't actually cobblers. Can you believe that? I think they're close enough to keep in the family, but many would argue they're in a class of their own. So what exactly is a cobbler? Well, technically speaking, there really is only one true cobbler. It's made with a fruit filling with biscuit dough dolloped on top, then baked to a delicious golden brown. That's the only cobbler out there. So what about all those other cobblers that have evolved over time and region into what we think of as our own personal cobbler? Well, it has been a tasty trip, let me tell you, researching what and how these regional, unique cobblers all came to be. New England brought us the grunt, which is very similar to the original, but instead of baking, you take the biscuit dough and drop it into boiling fruit where it is steamed to tender perfection like a dumpling. Then there's the sonker from the North Carolina region that is made by baking the fruit by itself and then pouring a pancake-like batter over the top. And there's another one called a buckle, made by using a cake-like batter and pouring the fruit over the top. Then there are the controversial crumbles and crisps, made with a streusel-like topping, crisps being made with oatmeal and nuts for that extra texture. I am sticking to including them as cobblers, but I would love your thoughts. There's even more, if you can believe it, but I want to know what you thought cobbler was. Did you know there were so many? And what's your favorite kind? I'm visiting a pick-your-own blueberry farm in my area, so I can celebrate cobbler the best way I know how, by making it. I found several recipes in my vintage community cookbooks, and I cannot wait to show you how much fun making the different kinds are. So follow me if you love cobbler as much as I do, or even if you're just dying to know what on earth a sonker is.